Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful framework for helping people. This comes from the course Introduction to Christian Social Work and Vocation. We're going to look at how we can get past just having good intentions and move toward a way of caring for others that's deeper, more effective, and honestly more responsible. This one sentence, this is the whole key right here. If you can really let this idea sink in, you'll get the entire framework. It completely flips the script on how we usually think about problems, as if they belong to just one person all alone. Because the reality is, nobody exists in a bubble. A person's struggle, whatever it is almost always tangled up with their family life, their community, or maybe the lack of one, and even the larger historical forces that have shaped their world. So to really truly help, we have to learn how to see that much bigger picture. And that brings us to what we're actually talking about. This definition is packed, so let's look at the keywords. Stewardship, systemically, ethically. See, this is way more than just being emotionally kind. It's a structured, thoughtful calling to care for people responsibly, and it grounds every single action in a biblical worldview. And that biblical lens, well, it's built on these incredibly deep truths. The idea that every single person has dignity because they're made in God's image. That call to act justly and to love mercy. The command to love our neighbor. And there's this profound wisdom from Proverbs that says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. That's really the goal here, to get the insight we need to help draw people out of those deep waters. Okay, so if we're supposed to see this whole picture, how on earth do we actually do that without getting totally overwhelmed? I mean, how do you map out that massive, complex web of relationships and environments that are all shaping a person's life? Well, you need a tool, you need a framework, a map, and the course material gives us a fantastic one. It's borrowed from social science, but it's viewed through that biblical filter we just talked about. And what it does is it gives us a way to organize our thinking so we can finally start to see things clearly. And here it is. This is our map, Bronfenbrenner's ecological model. Seriously, this is such a brilliant tool. The best way to picture it is like one of those Russian nesting dolls, with the person right there in the middle. So let's go ahead and peel back each layer one by one. So right at the very center, you've got the microsystem. These are the people and the places a person interacts with directly, face to face, every single day. We're talking about their family, their school, their close friends, their small group at church. This is their daily reality, the world they can actually touch and that touches them right back. Now, the next layer out is the mesosystem. And this one's a little different. It's not about new people or new places. It's all about the connections between the parts of that microsystem. So think about it. How well do a kid's parents and their teachers actually talk to each other? Does their friend group support their family's values, or is it always a source of conflict? See, when those connections are strong and healthy, it creates this amazing safety net. But when they're weak or broken, that is exactly where people so often fall right through the cracks. Okay, zooming out again, we hit the exosystem. And here's a really powerful way to think about this one. These are the rooms a person isn't even in, but where decisions are being made that totally change their life. Things like a parent's incredibly stressful job, a new policy passed by the city council, or the local factory shutting down. These outside forces create huge ripple effects that just wash right over a person's life. And then, the biggest, outermost layer is the macrosystem. This is basically the cultural blueprint for a whole society. It's the laws, the economic realities, and all those unspoken rules and beliefs about what it means to be successful, what a family should look like, who you should be. It's kind of like the air that everyone breathes, and it shapes our deepest assumptions about what's right, what's normal, and what's even possible. And finally, there's one more piece that cuts across all these layers, the chronosystem. This is just the dimension of time. It includes those big personal life events like graduating from college, getting married, or losing someone you love. But it also includes huge historical events like a recession or a global pandemic that completely reshape the world for an entire generation. Okay, so we have this incredible map for seeing people in a whole new, more complete way. But what good is a map if you don't know how to use it, right? So how do we actually go from seeing to doing? How does having this lens actually change the practice of helping someone? Well, first and foremost, it demands that we get really clear on our role. Christian social work isn't the same thing as being a pastor, whose primary role is shepherding a congregation. And it's not the same as psychotherapy, which diagnoses and treats clinical disorders. The unique focus here is on that systemic assessment, using the map we just learned about to understand the whole person. connect them with the right resources, and maintain really clear ethical boundaries. They're all different jobs, but man, they work best when they work together. So, what does this kind of helping actually look like in a conversation? Well, all the research shows that people respond best when the process is built on respect. They need to feel truly heard, which means we have to practice active listening. They need a helper who asks good, open-ended questions, not just yes or no ones. Ultimately, people need to feel like they are a collaborator in their own journey, not just some problem that we're here to fix. And this leads us to some core commitments for any responsible helper. Real helping is never a solo mission. It takes humility, the humility to work under supervision, the discipline to stay in your own lane, and the wisdom to know your limits. A responsible helper isn't just looking for problems, they're trained to spot strengths, to see resilience. The Course puts it so well, zeal without wisdom can produce harm. Sometimes the most courageous and helpful thing you can do is show the restraint to refer someone to a pastor or a therapist who has the right expertise. All right, so let's pull all these pieces together. We've got this biblical calling to serve, this incredible lens to see the world systemically, and a set of really humble ethical practices to guide what we do. So what does that look like when it's all working together? This visual really gets at a central idea here. Effective helping isn't just a bunch of random, nice things we do. It's a thoughtful, disciplined practice. It's what happens when you combine the why, our biblical calling to serve, with the how, using that ecological lens to see what's really going on, and then acting with skill and a whole lot of humility. And that, right there, is the big transformational idea at the heart of this whole thing. This entire framework is designed to take our genuine desire to help people and arm it with the wisdom, the tools, and the boundaries to actually help them well. It's what turns our compassion into competent, ethical, and truly life-changing care. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Who in your world, in your family, your church, your neighborhood, could you see more completely if you started to look not just at the person, but at all those interacting systems, the micro, the meso, the exo, and the macro that are shaping their life every single day? That's the real power of a deeper kind of helping.